My name is Romina. I work for Zymela DDC, which is the American-based office for Zymela, which is a Latin American brand for personal care products. And I manage both the customer service department and operational / a little bit into marketing operations side for our three brands into the American market, or for the American market, that are Autism, which is a brand that specializes in products and tools for kids under the spectrum and their parents, like support as a family. Arthritis Hope, which is a brand that also offers products and tools to support people who are suffering from arthritis, help them cope with arthritis-related pain. And then we have Made for Living, which is our main brand, that it's a brand that helps users that are starting and already in very much forward into their incontinence problem to just learn how to overcome the emotional aspect of it and just realize that it's something normal in life and just put on the absorbency underwear and continue moving with their lives. Working with the email and retention team has been an amazing experience. Ever since the beginning, they made us feel so comfortable. They showed us from the initial conversation, they showed us an enormous amount of knowledge and all the capabilities and everything that we were missing out. Our email efforts for Autism and for Arthritis Hope were very minimal. Like, we were doing things, but we were doing it very, very wrong. And for Made for Living, it was almost non-existent. We knew we were missing out on a huge opportunity. Big part of any company's revenue should be driven by email. Any retention strategy should be supported by email. So we knew it was something important that we needed to tackle. From the moment we started working with Pilothouse, it's just the level of expertise and the resources that they showed us was just incredible to experience. With each brand, the team was able to deliver excellent results, were able to pinpoint where we were lacking or points of optimization opportunities to improve. So it was a great experience. And I would say that was consistent among all three brands. So each brand had its own opportunities and places of improvement. However, it was consistent. It wasn't like, oh, they're exceeding in this brand and these other two not so much. No, at all. I think the expectation was surpassed among all three brands. I don't feel there was a fear per se of working with Pilothouse. You know, whenever you're starting a new partnership with a third-party vendor, there's always that little bit of hesitation on, okay, they have their ways of doing things, so how do we best merge our operations and our way of doing things and what we've been doing, so we can just, instead of starting from ground zero, we can build on top of that and just get what we were doing or what our efforts were at the moment and just make it better. So I guess that was just the biggest concern at the beginning, just trying to find a nice balance in between how Pilothouse works and how we were operating. I guess eventually after 2 weeks in, I just said, you know what, let's just roll with whatever they're doing. Clearly they know what they're doing, so let's just roll with it. Whatever they need in the format that they need, that's what they're getting. I guess the ultimate goal for all was to drive more revenue from email, and that's always been the North Star, put it that way. Having said that, each brand had its difficulties of their own. For example, for Autism, we started noticing from the very early stages that we had an incline on conversion rates from the huge amounts of emails that we were sending. So we knew something was wrong. We just couldn't really determine what it was, or even we didn't know the term. Main goal was to try to fix that inboxability issue for Autism. For Arthritis Hope and for Made for Living, those two are brands that naturally they speak to a older audience, not millennials, not Gen X, but rather boomers and late boomers. I guess for them, the goal was more to tailor the communication and get that sweet spot on the amount of emails and just make it as easier as possible for them to see what they had to do, what the call to action was not overwhelm them with a bunch of emails, because they might not be as comfortable with email as younger generations. But still, I guess with both brands, where how can we best tap into that audience and finding that sweet balance to where it generates the revenue that we're seeking and it does not ups our loss rates or overwhelm the recipients to a point where they suppress the email or unsubscribe. I think the biggest benefit was working with a team. All of these amazing people. I believe my shared Slack chat was with 11 members, and just each one of them brings something so unique to the table. First of all, we started with our account managers, who were just so comprehensive of the problems from the very beginning. Each one of them brought a different set of skills, basically made the management so much easier, especially when you have 3 brands. It's not just like we have one calendar that we stick it to and finding the sweet spot for each one of them, but rather you have that multiplied by 3, and the communications are completely different. Even though even between our 2 brands that have this similar audience, how we communicate to them, the message, the value proposition, they're just 2 different paths or journeys. That was one of the biggest, hits to me. That was the support of the team. And then of course you have the designers. They stuck to every single one of my crazy requests, and the copywriters, who put a lot of effort into nailing the communication right, following our brand guidelines on what to say, what not to say, especially for Made for Living. You're dealing with a brand that it's highly emotional. It's a concern that brings the user a lot of shame. It is imperative for us to be able to communicate in a way where you take that client and you take them from their hand and you walk them through this journey of acceptance without making him or her or they feel sick, just making it look like something that is a normal part of life, and that there's just so much left to live and so many things that you can do, or rather say, don't let this thing stop you from doing the things you love. With the copywriters, it was a whole work in progress to a level of detail where they were super careful of, for example, not even using the word diaper, using absorbency underwear, not using incontinence, using hyperactive bladder, things like that. And these are all terms that, even though we provided the brand guidelines, they just made it better, sound better. The message was the right one. For someone who's considering working with Pilothouse, there's nothing to think about it. Just do it. The expertise that this team brings to the table, the knowledge, the support is just outstanding. The level of customer service exceeded every single one of my expectations. We were evaluating different agencies at the beginning of the year, see who could we work with. We're located in Miami, so we were looking for a couple of options that were local. Then we were looking more broad into United States, because our audience is everywhere in the United States. But I must say, I'm a huge D2C podcast fan. As we were in the process of considering agencies, I just heard this episode where he was talking about email marketing. He was talking about the launch program that they were doing at that moment, and everything clicked. I'm looking for this agency, but here's the answer. Like, I've been listening to these people talk for almost a year, and it's now clicking that this is the people I want to work with. And I'm so happy with it. Seriously, if you're considering working with Pilothouse, look no further. Just be sure that you're in excellent hands, and everybody is so involved into making your brand grow and seeing you succeed that it's heartwarming. So the first reaction when we would look at metrics, even month after month, would be like, how on earth were we operating before? Those metrics show you the amount, like the massive opportunities that we had, all the improvements and all the optimizations that had to be done for our email efforts to actually be worth all the hours that we were putting into it. Of course, it has brought a massive impact positively in a huge way to all 3 brands.